rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. I am your host, Rick. Oh, my goodness. Seems like everybody's getting rain. My mom got rain down in Arizona. We're getting rain right now. Looks like rainstorms have gone over Texas and looks like Florida. So everybody's getting rain. Well, Florida and the East Coast, it has to deal with that I don't think it's a hurricane yet. That tropical storm that's coming, I think. Anyway, we'll just have to see. Oh, I hope everybody stays safe and gets whatever kind of weather that you want. I can tell you though that my temperature gauge here at the studio needs a little help because, as you can see, I'm wearing a fantastic cotton polo from theflagshirt.com. I'll get to them in just a minute. But the temperature gauge says that it's almost 90 degrees right now. And I know it ain't 90 degrees outside. There's no way I'd be standing here with freaking fans going and all this other stuff. Yes, it is a little muggy, but yeah. So, there you go. 90 degrees over in Ohio, according to Barb over on Facebook. So anyway, all right. Quick update for all of you folks with regards to the horse that are not part of the Whiskey Warrior P1 Facebook group. He did take care of business last night, during the night, a couple of different times. He is doing much better. He drank about a gallon of water on his own yesterday before I fed him. And even though he wasn't interested in that much, he did eat a little bit last night. But this morning, he definitely ate a lot of the mash that I had made for him out of his pelleted food, which, you know, basically turns into like a powder when when water's added to it. So, but he's doing much better. He's much more alert. I've actually heard his gut moving, which for those of you who are not horse people, their guts always make a sound. They will always make a sound. And so, yeah, he's doing much better. Texted with the doctor, and the doctor's like, hey, it sounds like he's doing good. He's, as long as he's doing his business, you can start reintroducing the dry hay. So I'm going to be doing that tonight. So yeah, he's 31 and we got him through. I think we're around the corner now. And so, well, there you go. Yeah. I wish it was the other kind of mash. Bonnie's like, Rick is now making his own mash. Yeah. I wish it was the other kind of mash, believe me. But yeah, this stuff is, hopefully he's going to eat some more tonight, and, I'll take off the splint, that you saw in the photo. Hopefully I'll be taking that off, and to see if he can stand, with that leg, then I won't have to put the splint back on. So things are good. And yeah, Barb is over here. She's obviously a horse person, or at least is very well aware of horse stuff because of all the great suggestions she was making yesterday. And then, of course, today she keeps talking about belly sounds or great sounds. Barb, just for you, I was like outside of the fence, and he I was about 3 feet away, and I think I could hear at least one of his gut sounds this morning. His stomach was growling. He was hungry. So, yeah, so there you go. All right. Enough said about the horse. Let's go ahead and get things kicked off. Tonight is 3 Chevy. 3 Chevy is on tap for tonight's Pledge of Allegiance. So if you are of mine, please stand, remove your hats if you're wearing one, like me. And, of course, place your hand over your heart and follow along with 3 Chevy as he recites the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And of course, we do appreciate 3 Chevy for providing us with that fantastic rendition of the pledge. If you would like to hear your rendition of the pledge played here on the program, all you need to do is record yourself reciting or performing the pledge in your style, and then take that audio file, video file, whatever kind of file, and send it off to me. You can share it if you do it on your phone. Apparently, you can share it to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. That's fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. And I, of course, will get you into the rotation. We're at 17 total. I'd like 18. I think you guys are holding out just because I keep saying that I like even numbers. I think that's the deal. So ruin me. Give me 2 more. Put it at 19, not 17. 19. Come on. Anyway, all you got to do is send them to me. Send them to fans at AmericanPerspective.online. You know, last night, YouTube, somebody was watching on YouTube and they left a comment. The comment was they were just here to see the mustache. Whatever. I don't know. It's just, hey, I don't care why you watch. Just come and watch, okay? That's all there is to it. Anyway, all right. So let's go ahead and get tonight's headline sponsor going. As you can see, I am wearing one of their fantastic and wonderful shirts, the cotton pullover, the cotton polo, men's cotton polo. And of course, it comes from theflagshirt.com. Well, theflagshirt.com has a new sale going on. No longer do they have their August sale. They're now flipped over to their Labor Day sale. You imagine Labor Day is not that far away. Wow. Anyway, theflagshirt.com has a $20 off when you spend $100 plus. With the promo code 20, that's TWENTY is the promo code. $20 off when you spend $100 for their Labor Day sale, and you can pick up some fantastic patriotic clothing in men's, women's, kids' styles, Independence Day outfits, featured brands made in the USA. They've got just these wonderful classic styles and great prints like I'm wearing right now. I think this is the Liberty Bell version of the men's cotton polo. So that's fantastic. Okay, so I got a question for the chat because Ms. T is saying that my audio is dropping off. Is anybody else affected by audio dropping off? I'm just asking. So I'm just asking. So if you are hearing or having audio problems, just let me know. So okay. Okay. So 3 Chevy sounds like he's doing fine with the audio. But anyway, let me get back to theflagshirt.com. So theflagshirt.com, and if you want to, if you don't want to get that $20 off, you can head on over to flagshirt.americanperspective.online and get yourself a coupon code that will get you $5 off your order. So head on over to flagshirt.americanperspective.online. That's flagshirt.americanperspective.online. And you'll get a $5 off coupon for theflagshirt.com. And you can then take that, put it in the promo code box at checkout at theflagshirt.com. Get that $5 off order on me on American Perspective. So once again, that's flagshirt.americanperspective.online. Grab that coupon code, copy and paste it into the promo code box at checkout at theflagshirt.com, and you'll get that $5 off for your order. If you don't want to take advantage of the $20 off, code 20. So there you go. All right. So go to theflagshirt.com and get yourself patriotized. Ready. Let's see. Is that number? Yeah, that is. Coco to Whiskey. Coco, insert name here. Give me just a second. Let me. Is this line? She is saying that the store, my store, American Perspective, store.americanperspective.online is offline for some reason. Let me just see. Okay, well, you said you can't check out, which is interesting. Go away. Let's just do this. Take a look at this. No, not exactly sure. I want black on that. Size, let's just say 2x. There's the money. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything, at least as far as like going and adding up to, putting it into the cart. I don't want to go all the way to do the cart all the way, but you can go and check it out at store.americanperspective.online. If you keep having a problem, just let me know. I'll check it a little bit later. Maybe I'll go and make a purchase of my own or something. So anyway, just to check it out. But there you go. All right, let's go ahead and talk about this. So, yes, the one president. Well, first of all, let me explain to you what garbage in, garbage out means. All right. Whenever you deal with any kind of a computer-aided model, machine learning, any of those kinds of things, any, estimation, any kind of guesswork that needs to be done, regardless of what it is, it doesn't really matter. If the premises that you start from is garbage, if the parameters that you use or that you apply are garbage, if the information that you obtain to try and bring in to this predictive model is garbage, and you put that garbage into this thing, whatever it is, you're going to get garbage out. That's just the way it is. I mean, garbage in, garbage out. And the Democrats continually put garbage in. Everything, just about everything that they do is putting garbage in. And so people, the Democrats sit there and wonder why they get garbage out. Well, to them, it's not garbage in. To them, it's not garbage out. To them, it's like this nirvana. And in terms of anything, whatever their policies or prescriptions for the country, whatever it happens to be. And what they don't seem to realize is that, they basically are putting garbage in the beginning. Take Texas for an example, with this whole redistricting thing. They're sitting here talking about, this redistricting, it's gerrymandering, it's horrible. Yet they've been doing it for decades. They've been doing it and cutting out Republicans, and they're not interested, believe me. The Democrats are not interested in anything fair. They're not interested in anything that is even or equal in any kind. What they are looking for is they are looking for a way to utilize the system, to game the system, to get whatever they can out of it in order to stay in power and gain money or fame or whatever it is that, floats their boat. Well, one of the things that's been amazing most of the time for most of the presidency, the presidents that we've had, many of them, once they're done with the presidency, they usually fade off into historical obscurity. They just, go and they retire. They don't necessarily get involved. Some still do, like Jimmy Carter used to. Jimmy Carter used to try and negotiate deals and things like that when he first left the presidency, which of course that was, an abysmal failure. But there's only one president in my memory that still keeps showing up. He keeps popping up. He keeps presenting himself over and over and over again. And that's nothing but Obama. Because Obama, he can't just ride off into the sunset. Because if he does, then the Democrats will go all to crap again. Well, they did it anyway, even though he hadn't rode off into the sunset. But he's back again. So he apparently held some sort of a Zoom meeting. And they are saying, by the way, that the Zoom meeting was held because of the Democrat or the quote unquote Republican threats. Yeah, whatever. I don't know of very many Republicans that would threaten, although I do know that they would apply, law when you do something wrong, and they would apply the law, and they, because Republicans are for law and order. That's what we've always been. But of course, we're for proven law and order, not fake made up crap law and order like the Democrats seem to want to be. But Obama got on this call and he basically was saying a bunch of different things. I'm not going to play it for you because if I do, I'm just probably going to make myself sick. But that being said, he reportedly praised the Democrat Texas lawmakers for fleeing their state. So he's praising essentially absconding in your duty. He's praising potentially criminal behavior. Okay? He called their actions inspiring, according to the reporting. And, yeah, these Democrats were encouraged by Obama's words. And of course, Obama referred to everything as like, we need to restore our democracy. Well, Obama, dude, you obviously did not read the Constitution. It says we are a guaranteed republic. So there you go. So anyway, ABC News reported that an Obama spokesperson confirmed this Zoom call, saying that he lauded their fight against the Republican efforts to enact an even more egregious gerrymander in Texas ahead of the midterms. Again, and I've already shown you this, the Democrats have gerrymandered everything already. They've gerrymandered all of this stuff. They have already been cheating for decades in this situation. And not to mention the fact that, like I've told you before, Texas kind of has no choice. The Supreme Court, or their Supreme Court, is forcing them to redistrict. It's forcing them to do this. It's not as though they're doing this just for, craps and giggles. They're being legally forced to do this. They're following the law. And yet, for whatever reason, these guys, they seem to think that they're on the proper side of the law, and they're not. They're not. So, anyway, he won't go away. He just won't go away. And so I don't even understand why he's standing with these people. Well, I mean, I do understand why, because he's a Democrat. But he just needs to go away. That's just all there is to it. He just needs to quit and go away. And you want to talk about, Biden being Biden's was Obama's third term. That's totally believable. All right. Okay. So, the current president of the United States, one of the greatest presidents in American history, has met with Putin up in Alaska today. Now, I just saw a news flash that Putin has left Alaska. So their meeting obviously is over with. Not exactly sure what was not exactly sure what was discussed yet. Well, I'm sure we'll hear it over the next course, the course of the next 24 to 48 hours. But prior to going into the meeting, Trump made this conversation or made a comment about how, well, it might be time for Kyiv, meaning Ukraine, and Zelensky, to realize that it's in order to have peace, maybe they should have, a territory swap. Like everything that Russia took, they get to keep, and Zelensky can keep whatever he took. And that might be the start of the conversation. And of course, the left went nuts. I mean, the left went crazy about this because, again, I'm just going to point this out. The lines, the battle lines, the front lines haven't really changed much according to all reports for this kind of thing. And so, again, it's kind of like, I don't see necessarily where Ukraine is going to get out of this, what they want, which is essentially Russia to back completely out of everywhere that they have taken. Keep in mind, the Donbass and Crimea regions were taken under Obama and Biden. So Trump basically being a realist and saying, yeah, well, they've held those regions for quite some time now. Why would we necessarily tell them that they couldn't have it? Not to mention the fact that the Donbass and Crimea regions are mostly Russian people. The people wanted Russians. They've been consistently loosely controlled by Ukraine, but only loosely so. And so, it seems kind of crazy to sit here and request that Russia, retreat completely from those areas. Do I think that it was wrong for Russia to take those areas? Yes. But that doesn't negate the fact that they did take them and they've held them. And there really hasn't been much change in all of that. Now, all of that being said, Trump did say when he got there on Friday before meeting with President Putin, Russian President Putin, that he would discuss the potential land swaps between the two, but that the ultimate decision on agreeing with such a deal still rests with Ukraine. So he told reporters on Air Force One, Trump did, that he is not negotiating for Ukraine. He basically is saying that, hey, all I'm doing is attempting to facilitate the meeting. I'm not really necessarily negotiating for one side or the other. Again, like I said, he's going to Putin and he's saying, okay, Putin, what do you want? Since the two of these countries, these two leaders can't sit down into a room together and actually be okay, he's basically saying, all right, I'll be your intermediary. You tell me what you want. I'll go back and you tell me what you want. And then we'll kind of negotiate through a third party, meaning me. So, anyway, the left doesn't seem to understand that this is an important part of the process. This is an important part of the negotiation process. Well, like normal, everybody wants to kind of know what the two leaders have either said to each other or what type of information that we can glean from their body language. And so Newsweek came out with a article here that a body language expert reacts to the Trump-Putin meeting. Now, I'm just going to point something out to you. Trump actually had a B-2 bomber fly overhead with an escort while he was meeting with Putin on the red carpet and the tarmac as they were walking into, I'm assuming this was like a Air Force base or something like that, because there were some military jets around. But he had a B-2 fly overhead, which I think was kind of a boss move. There's no mention of that in this article, by the way, but yeah, it's kind of interesting that he had that timed just at a specific point for them to go. They met at Elmendorf-Richardson Joint Base, Elmendorf-Richardson in Anchorage. So here is a synopsis, basically, of what these body language experts were saying. So, Patty Ann Wood is a body language expert, and she said that Trump, as he stands waiting, he's smiling, a sign that he's comfortable, he's looking forward to the event. It's his natural smile. He says she says small and slightly downturned at the corners of the mouth. His shoulders are back more than usual. She was like, he might be wearing a form-fitting undergarment because his posture is unusually erect. But this is, this all suggests confidence, she said. Then she says that as Putin approached, Trump applauded lightly and stepped forward. And she claims that this shows respect toward Putin. Then they took a look at the handshake. Now, Trump did apparently break from his usual approach. Trump approaches people when he's going to shake their hand. He usually approaches with his hand in the above position, like this. But this time he had it out and underneath, like this. And so she said that indicates that the handshake itself started with sort of a deference, meaning, nothing really. Yeah, I'm gonna allow you to kind of be in the more of the command position, I guess, in the way. But then he switched his hand and he kept the handshake tight to his mid-body. If you've ever watched Trump shake hands, he doesn't exorbitantly reach out ahead of himself. He keeps his hand in close and toward the mid part of his body. He doesn't raise his hand up like I'm doing to demonstrate, but he doesn't raise his hand up. He usually keeps it low, fairly low in the mid-body, because he's going to likely grip it. And that position, by the way, is a position, and this is my narrative, that position brings in several other muscles that would usually be stretched out, okay? But he kept it close, and he grabbed it. Now, according to the body language expert, Wood, she says this: Trump typically likes to have his hand on top, but it appears he presented his palm up, which is a weaker, more subordinate position, indicating that he sees Putin as more powerful. Although she changed that, she said, still, he uses a signature Trump move, keeping the handshake tight to his mid-body to pull the other person in, which is a display of power. She said that both men maintained eye contact and smiled, which she suggested was a balance of deference and assertion. She said their heads stayed close together, which suggests warmth. So then Trump, of course, goes and pats his arm. You've seen this before. I mean, he does this all the time, forming what she called a double handshake. And she says this is a subtle signal of dominance, symbolically saying I could strike you if I wanted to, according to this body language expert. And apparently Putin responded in kind, which you can also see he did. He responded. I watched the video of the two of them shaking their hands. Now, after that, she said that as the leaders walked, Trump's hand moved to the top position, which is essentially what the body language expert called a handshake chess game. Now, Wood noted that Putin looked confident with his arm swinging loosely. She said, unlike 6 months ago where he was more rigid, Trump's arms stayed close to his body, and at one point Trump grabbed Putin's elbow and leaned in to whisper, which both of those are a control move as well as a gesture of intimacy, according to the body language expert. So overall, she said, despite the visible jockeying for position, Wood said that the meeting, Wood is the body language expert, she said the meeting appeared warm. She said it looked like two old friends seeing each other after a long time. She's like, even with the handshake battle, I've seen Trump give a death stare or avoid eye contact in similar situations, but not here. She said, not here. So, yeah. Again, it's kind of sort of like, well, okay, you know, honestly, he should give a little bit of respect just for Putin and his position. But that doesn't mean that he necessarily has to be, you know, acquiescent in this whole thing. So it looks like, at least from the beginning, that the two of them are, and here, I just want to show you this. Let me show you this image. You can see here, Putin is stretching out his arm to get to Trump, and Trump is keeping his hand close. That's what we were talking. And as you can see, Trump's got his hand slightly canted under Putin's. So Trump's hand is sort of at about a, 30-degree off level. You know, it's not quite 90 degrees. It's not quite 45. It's just sort of 30. And he's standing there and he's gripping his hand. And again, like I said, that's a very strong position for the arm to be in to actually grip quite well in that particular sense. So you didn't really see like a huge, you know, battle of wills. It's not like either one of them necessarily. It's like you said, potentially two older dogs that know that they both can fight and they aren't in the mood to. That's basically how I would characterize this entire situation. Although, you know, Trump being the receptor, meaning he's the one receiving Putin, he was acting like, hey, I don't necessarily want to antagonize you here, even though I am here. This is my land, essentially. And again, to have all that military power surrounding them, it's like, I don't think that Trump necessarily wanted to get off on the wrong foot to try and be, you know, like the badass junkyard dog. Anyway. Well, considering how this goes and whatnot, you know, Hillary Clinton actually said that if Trump could actually pull this off without giving away any territory for Ukraine, she would file for Trump to receive the Nobel Peace Prize. I thought that was interesting to see in the news. But all of that being said, we have now a total of 7 nations. This in Breitbart. 7 nations endorse Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize. They call him the President of Peace. Now, keep in mind, Obama was awarded the Peace Prize for literally doing nothing but getting elected. He was just given the Peace Prize for no reason. Whereas this president has actually had 7 different nations across the Middle East, Asia, and Africa have called for President Trump to receive the Nobel Peace Prize. So, yeah. Anyway, the list of endorsements was shared by White House officials on Tuesday. Yeah, from Armenian Prime Minister Oh, I'm not going to read these names. The Armenian prime minister, the Azerbaijani prime minister or president, the Cambodian prime minister, the Gabonese president, the Israeli prime minister, and of course the government of Pakistan, as well as the Rwandan foreign minister, have all put him in for the Nobel Peace Prize. And yeah, which, I mean, let's be honest, it's he's using America's might to go ahead and take care of things around the world, as he should. I mean, if America is going to be the world's police, you have to use the power that is present in America. See, Biden was a very weak leader. They knew it, all of these countries knew it. That's part of the reason why Russia invaded Ukraine. Part of the reason why North Korea started their crap. Why China started acting like they wanted to go. So, there you go. And so that's essentially where that came from. So let's see. I mean, I would hope that some of this stuff gets taken care of, that he actually does win it. That would be perfect. To be honest with you, is to have Trump win the Nobel Peace Prize. All right. Buddy is asking a question. Let's see. I don't know for certain. So, Buddy is asking how many illegal aliens got deported today. I don't know how many got deported today, but there is a article here saying that Kristi Noem is saying that 1.6 million have self-deported. So there you go. Have self-deported. 1.6 million have self-deported. Now, what that means in terms of how many got deported today, I don't know. But there you go. So, all right, let's go ahead. I want to take a look here, see what we have. Oh, okay. We'll do this one. Yeah, we'll do this. All right, outdoor crew. If you're into fishing, camping, or getting off the grid, meet your new best friend, the Hunter Orange 25-quart cooler from Caddis Sports. This isn't your average cooler. It's roto-molded for max durability, bear-proof, and 20% lighter than other brands. So it's easy to haul whether you're deep in the backcountry or just setting up at the dock, or as Bonnie has pointed out, at the beach. You'll get up to 3 days of ice retention thanks to thick, high-performance insulation. That means cold drinks, fresh food, and fewer ice runs, whether you're chasing muttons offshore or posted up at a campsite. The best part? It's 40 to 50% cheaper than the big-name coolers, but it's still built to perform season after season. And like all Caddis Sports name brand gear, it's proudly made in the USA. Use code RUMBLE at checkout for 10% off of your order today. That's Caddis Sports, CADDIS Sports, SPORTS.com, to go and grab the Hunter Orange 25-quart cooler and keep your next adventure ice cold. Use the code RUMBLE at checkout for 10% off your order today. Go to Caddis Sports, CADDIS Sports.com, and use the code RUMBLE at checkout to get 10% off your order. So go to CaddisSports.com and grab the Hunter Orange 25-quart cooler and keep your next adventure ice cold. And I just noticed I lost my closed captioning, so we'll bring that back. All right. Let's see, where was I? Oh, yes. Okay. So, the next, you remember how I was telling you how that police commander or police captain, whatever it was in DC, that had the problem with fudging the numbers? Okay. Well, a DC police sergeant exposed her superiors for doing those things, misclassifying crimes to make the crime stats look low. I told you about this, the whole thing prior to Trump, taking over and all that. Well, it's kind of funny that the DC city is trying to say that, oh yeah, crime's been on the, lowering, crime's dropping, crime's not that bad. Except there's only one problem. They just quietly settled this DC police sergeant's lawsuit against them. So, records revealed in the suit from Police Sergeant Charlotte Djossou, that's Djossou, I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce it, showed that the department leadership directed subordinates to file theft and violent crimes as lower level offenses. Talk about juking the stats. They're even filing crimes that should be at a higher level, and they're filing them lower on the scale, let's say, or the severity scale, in order to make things look better. Now, she filed for a lawsuit, or she, filed a lawsuit, and now the District of Columbia has apparently quietly settled. So, according to the court records that was obtained by the Washington Free Beacon, where this is coming from, the police brass repeatedly told officers to downgrade theft cases, knife attacks, violent assaults, and turn them into lesser offenses, according to internal Metropolitan Police Department emails, depositions, and phone call transcripts that the Washington Free Beacon reviewed. Now, the former MPD sergeant, she sued the department back in 2020, alleging that police leadership punished her for speaking out against this activity. She had joined the force after serving honorably in Iraq. She accused MPD brass of attempting to distort crime statistics by downgrading a number of felonies to misdemeanors so that there will be fewer felonies in the statistics. She also provided records showing that police leaders explicitly instructed their subordinates to underclassify certain instances of theft to keep them out of the crime stats, the city reports to the public. So the lawsuit itself, as well as the idea of the city to go ahead and settle quietly, all right, this whole thing calls into question the whole narrative that the left has been putting. Oh, yeah, so why is Trump taking over D.C. now? Because, crime is down by 20, 30, whatever percent. Anyway. That includes mainstream media outlets. The New York Times, Washington Post, and Politico have all cited false data from the MPD department to contend that D.C. crime is low and the Trump crackdown is unnecessary. But I'm going to tell you right here and right now that this is not going to be reported by the mainstream media. They are not going to go and say, hey, by the way, we made a mistake. They're not even going to bother doing an editorial change, probably. They're going to keep talking about how D.C. crime is not as high because they want to get Trump. And this is the problem here, people. This is the problem with this entire situation. When you're sitting here, and yes, I'm not talking to my Whiskey Warrior P1s here. I'm not talking to people who come by and watch the show who aren't necessarily classified as a Whiskey Warrior P1 yet in the chats. I'm talking to all of you leftist lunatics who are out there saying, well, the statistics show blah, blah, blah. No, they don't. You cannot trust the statistics. This is one of the things that I'm telling you about garbage in, garbage out. The statistics are falsified. They're falsified because the records that are going in to create the statistics have been changed, modified, created, manufactured in order to obtain a specific outcome. This is why this is a big problem. This is why you can't trust these statistics. It's no different than, the job stats or anything else. Anytime you deal with statistics and analyses on numbers, anytime you do that, if the numbers going in are garbage, then the numbers coming out are going to be garbage. The point is you have to determine whether or not the numbers going in are actual garbage. And that's the challenge, is to understand that. But looking at things like this and having that senior supervisor being put on administrative leave for this, okay, then what you have here is you have a situation of garbage in, garbage out. Well, the good news is that the American people apparently are paying attention. And they're starting to realize that maybe garbage in, garbage out is not the kind of way to especially handle crime in major cities. In fact, our good old buddy Harry Enton over on CNN, he actually polls, Polls this out. Let's take a listen to Harry Enton discuss and describe what is happening with these numbers.
From Donald Trump. So how do Americans feel about it now as we head into this new chapter? Harry Enton is here. Where do things stand with how people feel about crime right now?
Yeah, I think that Democrats have to get it around their heads that Americans are far more hawkish on crime than they think that they are. What are we talking about? Trump's net approval handling crime. Where was he last year? He was way underwater at minus 13 points views of term number one. But look at where he is now. He's on the positive side of the ledger. He's on the positive side at plus 1 point. Americans view Trump far more favorably now on crime than they did a year ago. And while this polling doesn't take into account what's exactly happening in D.C. right now, it does take into account what happened in Los Angeles, what's happened earlier this year. And Americans, for the most part, actually view Trump favorably. Crime is one of Trump's best issues. It's one of the reasons why he wants to talk about crime, because it favors him.
It will be very interesting when you can see polling that has what's happening and rolling out right now settling in to see
if it moves
what the impact really is, because it's been a lot of messaging is
yes.
what we've seen. Compare Trump to Biden in handling of crime, please.
Yeah, okay. I think this sort of gives the game away here because Donald Trump is like Air Jordan towering over Joe Biden when it comes to their handling of crime. Look, in 2024, look at where Biden's net approval was on crime. Way underwater there at minus 26 points. It was one of Biden's worst issues. Granted, pretty much every issue was one of Biden's worst issues. And again, look at where Donald Trump is. Way, way, way above Joe Biden. What is that? That's 27 points. So Americans vastly prefer Donald Trump's approach to crime than they did to Joe Biden's. And again, I think it gets back to the point that Americans are far more hawkish on crime than a lot of Democrats want to admit.
And there's the truth. See, one of the things that Trump has been able to do effectively this term is basically hit all of the 80-20 policies. Immigration, 80-20. Illegal aliens being here, 80-20. People were not happy over the immigration, the open border policies of Joe Biden. They're not happy over what the leftist lunatics in all of our cities have been doing about crime. So, again, this kind of thing, again, it's for whatever reason, Trump picks an 80 topic, whatever it is, an 80% topic, and the left immediately jumps to the 20%. And why anybody would sit here and look at somebody, say, the likes of a Chuck Schumer or the likes of a Hakeem Jeffries, Okay, those two. They sit and talk about, oh no, DC crime, and, this is just a massive authoritarian takeover, all of this stuff, when in reality, the American people are starting to see through a lot of this stuff. And Donald Trump actually was talking about not only doing this kind of thing in D.C., but he also was talking about doing it in other places around the country. Now, whether or not he can do it in other places is another question for another day and another legality question. But some of these other cities have to wake up to the realization that, yeah, there is a bit of a problem. For an example, here's a Democratic governor. She complained about Trump's D.C. move. But yet 2 days later, this New Mexico governor, Michelle Grisham, said on Wednesday that she was issuing a state of emergency targeting crime and drug trafficking in Rio Arriba County. She criticized Trump's D.C. move, and yet now she does exactly what Trump did, which is essentially declare a crime emergency. Now, the only reason to declare an emergency is to enact certain things that you cannot normally do, or bring in resources that you normally cannot do or cannot use. And, so this, come on, folks. She was complaining about President Trump taking steps to control crime in D.C., Then she just sent troops. This is according to Jim Townsend, Senator Townsend, on his X account. Today, the governor sent troops into Espanola. I started to accuse her of hypocrisy, but I realized that she was actually learning from him and trying to replicate his particular thing. So, yeah. Anyway. The emergency declaration, by the way, covers a large portion of northern New Mexico, including 2 Native American Pueblo communities from the city of Espanola all the way to the Colorado border. You know, if the Democrats could actually learn from Trump how to handle these 80-20 issues, they could, but they won't. Speaking about garbage in, garbage out, well, you know, this whole climate change stuff. First of all of the climate change models have consistently been wrong because they consistently claim that we're going to be dead in like 12 years. And it's been wrong all this time. Well, this piece in the Daily Wire points out that the Democrats oftentimes point to a study that predicts that the global economy is going to crash in this century thanks to climate change. And the paper that was originally published in the journal Nature last year claimed that the global gross domestic product will plummet by 62% by 2100. Compared to where it would be without any climate change. Well, there's only one problem. That study, by the way, also claimed that about 19% of the global economy will be lost in the next 25 years. And these predictions, of course, were 3 times higher than previous estimates, causing the alarm over the possibility that climate change could destroy the global economy within people's lifetimes. And, of course, the Democrats, morons like Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, read that study into the congressional record. Got to put it on the record. And he basically was saying that climate change is not just about polar bears or green jobs. It's about economic storm warnings to which we had better start paying attention. This is what he's saying just a few weeks after this study come out. Which, by the way, the flawed study, according to an analysis that was done, is the second most cited climate paper in 2024 by news outlets and all over social media. Now, here's the thing. This is why AI is such a pain in the ass. This second most cited paper is just by sheer volume of its being cited across all of these outlets causes the language learning models, the machine learning models that AI use to think that it's actually truth and fact, which is why you can't sit here and put things into Chat GPT or X's AI, whatever that is nowadays, Grok, I think is what it's called, and so on and so forth. This is part of the reason why you cannot necessarily depend on AI for all of this. Now, all this being said, there's a new analysis of that same paper published in the same magazine, Nature, this month that actually discovered there are some data anomalies. And those data anomalies are coming specifically from one location, Uzbekistan. And that one location, and here we go, garbage in, garbage out, that one location wildly skewed the predicted impacts of climate change. According to the piece, Uzbekistan's bad data showed the country's GDP falling off a cliff back in 2000 and then nearly doubling in some regions in 2010, among other eyebrow-raising anomalies. It says the data was so skewed that it upended the study's results dramatically. The country, by the way, has not experienced these wild swings in its GDP, according to several other sources. So, without the data, without the Uzbekistan's data, the predictions about how climate change would affect the global economy were much less dire, meaning that the global GDP would drop by 23% by 2100, according to that, versus the 62% it originally called out. And the study says that it would drop by just 6% by 2050, not the 19% that the old analysis pointed out. Now, what is cool, I got to give the Washington Post a little bit of credit here. They did finally admit the study's authors made a big error when that particular paper's mistake came to light. They did issue an editorial saying that, but again, I mean, editorials are like in fine print on the back page or whatever in most papers. Not saying the Washington Post does it that way, but instead of, plastering it all over the front page, hey, we were wrong. No, they don't do that. So anyway, yeah. It's just, again, garbage in, garbage out, folks. You cannot sit here and take all of these predictive models, these predictive analyses, even just standard statistics can be manipulated just by certain errors within the data. This is not something that we can sit here, and this is why science is what it is, where it continually evolves and changes. You cannot sit here and say, well, this thing is settled science. It's settled. No, it's not. It's not even close, especially when dealing with human-affected climate change. Climate change does happen, but humans affecting it, yeah, that's still up in the air, folks. That's still up in the air. So sitting here and, citing all these papers and everything else, an analysis can come out tomorrow that basically says that, the Earth is actually cooling, not warming, and that we are about ready to hit an ice age because of all the additional ice that has been added to places like Antarctica. So, yeah. Again, garbage in, garbage out. All right, folks, that is it for me for this evening. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It is free. And once you are signed up and signed in, make sure you search up the American Perspective channel and hit that green follow button to get notified every time that I go live. Also, too, don't forget to hit those thumbs up, or if you really want to, a thumbs down across all of my platforms, whether it's X, YouTube, Facebook, or, of course, the aforementioned Rumble. We will see you tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Whoa, what am I saying? Today's Friday. Tomorrow is Saturday. Saturday is 1 hour later. That's 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Have a great entrance into your weekend, and good night, everybody.